Hello, hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Emily. This is my channel, Books for Life. Thank you so much for being here. If you like my content and you haven't subscribed to my channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. So today I am here to wrap up my 2019. I know it's the end of February, or maybe March by the time this actually gets posted, but I need to tell you about the books that I read. So I have some of my stats for you. I have some of my goals check-in, like how did I do? And then I also have some honorable mentions and some different superlatives. Now I'm not doing the superlative tag. I can leave that down below in case you were interested. I didn't want to do that. I just pulled some different superlatives that I'm familiar with and I have attached them to books, which is just like what the superlative tag does, but I'm only doing a couple, not that many. So I read 105 books during 2019, which for me, I thought was awesome. I set a goal of 100 and I did it. I actually beat it by 5. So go me. I have never kept track of how many books I read before. I've never used a tracker, and that was one of my goals this year. I actually bought a planner and I was really great about using that until June, and then I didn't touch it. So the planner was a big flop, but Goodreads was not. I have been religious about updating my Goodreads. I go on there and I'm oh, I've read 74 pages and I add that. And as soon as I finish a book, I immediately hop on Goodreads and check that I finished it. I've done really well with that. But the actual planner part, no, I sucked. So I did not buy one for this year because don't tell my fiance, but it was a bit of a waste of money. So anyway, I did read 105 books and that was 40,036 pages, which I'm really excited about. My shortest book was The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill, and that was 72 pages. And my longest book was Outlander by Diana Gabaldon, and that was 850 pages. My average length was 381 pages for books. On Goodreads, my most popular book, the book that has the most ratings, not the book with the highest ratings, but with the most ratings, is Outlander again. And then my least popular, the one that has the fewest ratings, is Vote, a young woman's fight to the ballot box, something like that. I'll leave it here, by Celeste Coral. And that one has not had that many people read it. My average Goodreads rating was 4.1 stars. And out of all of the books, the one that got the highest rank, of all of the ratings, is Crooked Kingdom with 4.61 stars. So one of my goals was to read a couple different series. I actually had 10 different series that I wanted to read. I did read 6 of them. First one being 6 of Crows, Ember in the Ashes, The Wretched of Merwood, Vicious and Vengeful, Strange the Dreamer, and the Scythe series. So the 4 that I did not finish were The Witcher, but I did start. I've read the first 2 books and I'm going to continue reading them this year. I started The Magicians, but I only read the first one. Renegades, which I have not touched at all. They're here and they're on my list for 2020. And then To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Is that it? I don't remember. I actually don't have any interest in reading it. And I knew that when I put it on the list last year, so I'm not even sure why I put it on the list. And I even did that as a disclaimer. I was I don't think I'm going to read this. And I didn't read it. I know myself well. So I did okay. I completely read 6 of those series, and then I read partially 2 of the other 2, and then the other 2 I haven't touched. So it's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. So some of my superlatives are, my new obsessed author would be Christina Lauren. I ended up binging a ton of their books this past year. I just loved their books. My biggest surprise book would happen to be Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. I thought I was going to hate this book. I hate the cover. I hate covers with real people on it, and I just I didn't think I'd like this at all, but I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I ended up giving this 5 stars. Nowhere was this even close on my radar of something that I would enjoy. I totally judged the book by its cover. I looked at that and I was man, not for me. But it really was for me. I loved it. The one with the ugliest cover would be The Wretched of Merwood. I actually didn't have any that struck me as really, really ugly, but when I was going through, I'm like, this is the cover I like the least. I have two prettiest covers. The first one would be Amal Unbound. Like, look at the colors in this. I just love this. And then the other one would be the Hazelwood. The one that I think would become a great TV show or a movie would be The Diviners. I think that could be an amazing TV show if they did it right. All right, so some honorable mentions. So these books are ones that I did not or will not mention in my top 5 favorite and my top 5 like disappointments. Like, these are outside of those, and I'm not sure like what's being posted first, this video or those two, but regardless, these are ones that did not make the top 5 cuts. An honorable mention for a favorite adult book would be The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I really enjoyed this. If you're unfamiliar, this is about a family that escapes into the Alaskan wilderness. Her father suffers from PTSD from the Vietnam War, and he was left with this small plot of land and a cabin in Alaska. And he uproots his family and they go there to have like an easier life. But in the dark, his demons come to haunt him, and he is violent when he gets depressed and while he's suffering from PTSD, and it is a tough transition for them. So you follow this family, and I thought it was phenomenal. I thought the ending could have been a little bit better than it was, but I still gave this 5 out of 5 stars. A series that I ended up really enjoying that I never had anticipated would be the Lady Sherlock series. I just love them. Like, they're not getting 5 stars from me, but they're getting like 4 stars. I'm just enjoying them as they come out. I love Sherlock Holmes, and I love how this is a female Sherlock Holmes and all the things, and like I love her version of Watson here. I just thought that so far this series is really well done, and I have fun with it. It's not perfect, but I enjoy them. So I have read all 4 of the Lady Sherlock books so far, and I'll keep listening to them as they come out. My favorite historical book would be The Shallow Graves by Jennifer Donnelly. I thought this was really well done. I loved like the mystery aspect of this. You follow this young girl, I think this is like the late 1800s, and her father has died, and she does not believe that he committed suicide, and she decides to investigate. Now, this is not proper for a young girl her age, and she is encouraged to like just drop it and just mourn and move on, but she can't. And she like leaves that night, and she meets some people that her mother, if she knew, would not find suitable. And I just thought it was a fun historical fiction. An honorable mention for sci-fi would be Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is another one that I just really enjoyed. I loved the spaceship. You have a sentient spaceship whose personality is just, I thought, really fun, and I loved the main character and her growth throughout. I thought the action was a bit confusing at times, which is one of the reasons why this didn't make my top 5, but this was my first Brandon Sanderson novel, and I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5. My favorite thriller of the year would be Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. I loved this. I gave this 4 stars. It met everything I wanted it to meet with a thriller. I mean, I think if you were to twist my leg about it, I could give it 5 stars. But I gave it 4. I walked into this having no idea what to expect. I didn't know anything about it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked it more than The Woman in Cabin 10, which I had read back in October, and I love this idea. Like, you're following this girl who signs up for like this nanny job in Scotland, and so she has to leave London behind, and she moves in, and she's taking care of 3 girls. And you start this story off because this is a letter to an attorney. She is in jail for murdering one of the girls, and now you're like, wait, what? Like, what happened? And you follow this through this letter, which I thought was a really interesting format, and I really enjoyed that. And you figure out like what happened. An honorable mention middle grade would be Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. I loved this creepy middle grade book. You follow this young girl, and she goes to this spot by the river to think a lot after school. And one day when she shows up, there is a young woman there who is trying to throw a book into the river. And she's like, oh no, you don't treat books like that. And so the girl takes it, and then she starts reading it. And then some of the things that she's reading, she learns are actually like true about this like farm in a neighboring town. and things begin to go from there. You have scarecrows that come alive, and it's definitely creepy. It gave me those goosebumps, and I thought it was a really fun middle grade. And the last honorable mention that I am going to say is a chick lit, and this would be Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I already told you that I fell in love with the duo Christina Lauren this year. I read at least 5 or 6 of their books, and Love in Other Words is one that still I read last spring, and I still find myself thinking about it. You follow 2 different timelines here. You follow this young woman when she was a teenager, and her mother dies when she's, I want to say like 8 or 10, something like that. And so her father and her have become really close, and her father has this house, and they go and they stay up there for times, and like during school breaks and spring vacations and summer and things like that. And so they go up there and they spend some time there, and the next door neighbors have a boy that's right around her age, and her and that boy become really good friends. And then you go fast forward to the present day, and she's now a nurse, I think, and she hasn't seen or spoken to that guy in like 10 years, and they end up meeting at a coffee shop. And so you end up following their story back and forth and between the 2 time frames, and I really just loved it. I thought it was an excellent chick lit. I think I only gave it 4 stars originally, but I think I could go back and give it 5. So yeah, so those are some of my honorable mentions, my superlatives, some of my stats, and overall it was a great reading year, and I'm really excited to see what will happen during 2020 for me. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit subscribe. I'll be back with a bookish video soon. As always, keep reading.